8 months ago, a reconciliation after a brief split.
We will be a great partnership going forward. Our parties are at their best when they work together.
The focus now is on Anthony Albanese and the Labor government and holding them to account.
Now, the coalition is off again.
Our party room has made it very clear we cannot be part of a shadow ministry under Sussan Ley.
The Nationals quit the front bench en masse after 3 were dumped for breaking shadow cabinet solidarity when they voted against the government's bill to crack down on hate groups.
Sussan Ley could have chosen not to accept our resignations, which were offered in the spirit of the Westminster system.
She accepted our offers knowing that that would precipitate the National Party Shadow Ministry resignations.
Citing the National Day of Mourning, Sussan Ley hasn't fronted the cameras. But David Littleproud is making no secret he won't reunite under the current Liberal leadership.
I had a great relationship with Peter Dutton. He was a man of great integrity, and we had a great coalition. So there's one common denominator here.
The biggest winner of the coalition chaos may well be One Nation, already surging in the polls.
I think that's indicative. It's not locked in. Don't get carried away with it. But after this week, I think it'll get stronger.
National Senator Matt Canavan joins me now. Welcome to the program.
Good to be with you, David.
All right, I want to start with what really sparked all of this. You were pivotal in convincing your colleagues to vote against the government's crackdown on hate groups like Hizb ut-Tahrir and neo-Nazi groups because you want to protect free speech. Do you want these groups banned or not?
Well, I don't want a law which seeks to ban almost all sorts of organisations, or potentially could, because I think it could be open to abuse. I mean, in terms of individual groups, I want any ban to go through a proper investigation. I myself have not delved into the depths of either of that organisation or the right-wing organisation sometimes people raise. But
really?
I don't know. How have we got to a position? Well, no, I haven't, David. It's not I've got other things to do, but that's why we've set up. This law doesn't do that, right? It doesn't ban Hizb ut-Tahrir. It sets up a process that could potentially do that. And I just think this is a really serious thing to do, right? Ban an organisation. It's a very serious thing to do. Well, hang on. It's a very serious... You've asked a question. Can I just answer it? It's very serious. And I think we should have very, very tight frameworks about taking such a serious step to deny the Australian people their freedom that's guaranteed under the Constitution of association and political communication. And I don't think this law does that. Now, keep in mind, David, just one example of that. When we first established a law to list terrorist organisations, that was a serious thing, serious response. We had a system in place where an organisation would be delisted after 3 years, automatically delisted. So one of the amendments the Nationals Party moved the other night in the Senate was to have a sunset clause. After 3 years, this lapses and we'd have to look at it again. That was denied. So how is it that 20 years ago, after September 11, we would have a sunset clause on the listing of terrorist organisations, but now we have an open-ended ability for a government to permanently ban an organisation that could just be participating in the democratic process because this bill is so broad.
Let me just come in here. The point that it's so broad and groups are going to be banned willy-nilly, the law actually says for a group to be banned, ASIO must be satisfied that its activities are, quote, likely to increase the risk of politically motivated violence or the promotion of communal violence. I mean, do you seriously think ASIO is going to start banning church groups or anti-abortion groups with this law?
Hang on. Yep. Well, this is the point, David. We didn't oppose the whole law. All we wanted to do was have that language that you've just put in. You can go and check my amendment that I moved in the Senate the other night. Have that language inserted in the objects of the Act and in the definition of hate crime to restrict it to those instances where there's violent action. You ask me more. If you ask me a question,
it still says the minister can only ban a group if ASIO has given it that advice. It must receive that advice.
No. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it has to receive that advice, right? But this is my point, David. So why wouldn't restrict the definition of hate crime to that extent? What was the problem of that? We never got a straight answer on that because I and others in the Nationals Party are worried that while I have a bit of time for Mike Burgess, I don't really know him, but he seems like a decent guy. I mean, we're setting up a law for life. There's no sunset clause. who's to say ASIO Director General is a political appointee? That any new government can just appoint on their own. That doesn't go through Parliament.
The law is pretty clear.
Don't have a Senate approvals nominations
a group can only be
so
banned,
any new, hang on. Any new government could just appoint somebody else, and then that advice could easily be provided. And they don't have to recommend it either. They just have to provide advice.
Are you seriously saying your concern here is that the government's going to appoint a different ASIO boss who's going to go rogue with this law and start banning groups recklessly?
Yeah, I am. I don't trust governments, David.
Right.
I don't. And I mean, who would? Who would after what we've been through COVID?
You have a
after
fundamental
the lies we all
concern
get told time and time again. I mean, who would trust these people? I don't trust them. I have to work with them every day. And I think it's a very good
what
idea
about your
not
trust in our peak intelligence
to trust
agency,
politicians.
ASIO?
I mean, you're very naive, David. You're very. I appreciate
I'm just asking the question,
your
Senator.
optimism.
You don't trust our peak intelligence agency, ASIO, either?
I didn't say. Well, I tend to operate under the view that when you give broad powers like this, you shouldn't be trusting anyone. There should be protections in the Act. And I still, for the life of me, David, I can't understand that if what you're saying is true, that guardrail was there, why wasn't it okay to put the same words? We moved exactly the same words into the objects of the Act and removed these words that said economic, social and psychological. Why were those words there in the first place? We had the Greens supporting us. So the political reality was if the Liberal Party supported the Nationals Party on those provisions and those amendments, which I think were very sensible and reasonable, that would have become the bill. Would have become the bill.
The Liberals
are now
privately
decide whether to vote against their own bill.
Okay,
but
the Liberals did vote for this.
I don't understand that.
Okay, well, the Liberals are now privately blaming you for the National Party arriving at this position. Who is running the National Party for the record? Is it David Littleproud or is it you?
I think it maybe I'm guilty as charged. I read the bill. I just read the bill. And I presented what I think are pretty sensible concerns about the bill.
Okay.
I mean, isn't
We're
that
now
my
in a
job?
situation where the
Am I going to
coalition
get?
has
I mean,
split.
isn't that? I mean, I don't know. Do the Australian people expect
the question is about your influence and
laws like this
convincing Liberals
and
reckon you convinced the Nationals to move in this direction. Anyway, the coalition's now split.
So what's wrong with that? What is wrong? David, seriously, you've made that claim. What are you saying that me convincing my colleagues of a certain view is somehow
I'm just asking whether that's what happened. And
I mean,
I'm just asking
isn't that
whether
my
that's
job?
what happened. I'm just asking whether that's
well,
what happened.
look, you'll have to ask others. I hope I was very influential. I always hope that I do my best for the people I represent. But if I did, this is another point I just want to make. I was able to make those points to the Nationals Party, but we didn't have a joint party room meeting. This is the first time in my 11.5-year career that we've been in Canberra for sitting, and we didn't have a joint party room meeting. So I didn't have the liberty to express my views to my Liberal colleagues, at least.
Well, you won't be having any time.
I think that was a shame.
All right. Well, now the coalition is split.
No,
it does mean the Nationals are going to lose staff. You'll have little chance of being in government, to be fair. And the Liberals can now run against you in lower house seats and Senate seats as well. How is this a smart move for the Nationals?
Well, look, it's not. I don't think it's anything that people wanted to have this week. It was unexpected, I think unwarranted, and ultimately unprecedented. But we have to live in the real world, David, and the consequence of the Liberal leader sacking our ministers for voting along the lines of a party room position, a principal party room position, a deliberative one. We did go through the bill line by line and suggest these things. That the consequence is it's no more. So that's that. Look, I'm not a drama queen about it. I mean, we'll be right. We're still in Parliament. We'll still argue our case and fight for our people. And I don't try and overcomplicate politics. It's just about fixing people's problems. I feel like we fought and stood up for people this week. I've received enormously positive feedback for what the Nationals have done to stand on our digs and fight for them. And if we keep doing that, look, the ballot box, the politics will take care of itself.
Well, David Littleproud says the Nationals won't be part of any shadow ministry under Sussan Ley's leadership. Are the Nationals seriously now trying to dictate who should be the Liberal leader?
No, but I mean, you've got to state the facts. It's just the facts. As I say, it's unfortunate. I'm still scratching my head about how we ended here. I'm scratching my head about why we didn't have a joint party room meeting.
But do you share his view that you can't reunite while Sussan Ley is there?
Well, it's just a fact. Well, as I say, she's decided that she doesn't want the people who voted according to the Nationals Party position.
So who would be acceptable to the Nationals?
That's our whole
who would be acceptable? Who would be an acceptable Liberal leader?
I'm not I'm not. I've got no interest in doing that. That's a matter for the Liberal Party. I think David is.
Well, you're just saying it can't be Sussan Ley.
It's just a factual situation. Well, as I said, if Sussan has the view as leader, and she's right to have this view, she's absolutely fine. That's her decision. If she has the view that she can't have people in her ministry who have this view on this act, this bill or act now, that restricts people's freedom of speech. If that's the view of her, well, we can't serve with her because that's our position. That's
so any other Liberal leader would have to shift position on this law before you come back together.
No, not necessarily. Look, as I said earlier in the week, before the dramatic events of the last 24 hours, I don't exactly know why we had to split on this. There was no joint party room meeting, so I'm not exactly sure what my Nationals colleagues...
No, I understand that point. Just finally then, Senator, what about
the last
David
time this
Littleproud?
happened, I just want to make this point. No, I'm just going to make this point.
Right,
the last time this happened in 2008, shadow ministers didn't lose their job. So why did they have to this time? In fact, I can't find a precedence at all in history where shadow ministers have lost their job for voting along the lines of a party room position. This was a party room position. It wasn't a personal preference.
David Littleproud, has he handled this well, and should he remain as leader?
I think David's done an excellent job. I'm very proud to be a member of the Nationals Party. I've never been a member of the Nationals Party. I've never been prouder to be a member of the Nationals Party. As I said, we did our jobs this week on behalf of the Australian people. We went through this terrible bill, which gives ridiculous amounts of power.
And you want him to stay
to your
as
government,
leader?
as I said, you have no business entrusting. Absolutely. I think the Nationals Party has done its job, and that's all we're there to do. All you can ask of us. We've done our best, and we'll keep doing that for the people of Australia.
Senator Matt Canavan, thanks for joining us.